staff gather round, story lovers, and let me tell you a tale from a village not so different from our own. A story about a boy named Kwaku and the strange case of his ever-growing tongue. Kwaku was a clever boy, quicker with his hands and even quicker with his wit. He lived with his mother, a woman who loved him more than words could say. But sometimes, love can be blind. It started small, a juicy mango from a neighbor's tree, a shiny pebble from the market stall, harmless, right? When Kwaku brought these little treasures home, his mother would smile, ruffle his hair, and never ask where they came from. She was just happy to see her son happy. As Kwaku grew, so did his appetite for things that weren't his. The shiny pebbles turned into coins left on a counter, the mangoes turned into whole chickens from a farmer's coop. He became a shadow in the village, his hands moving like whispers, taking things that caught his eye. He'd come home with new clothes, fancy sandals, and even expensive fabrics for his mother, her wardrobe filled with beautiful things, and her heart filled with pride for her resourceful son. Still, the question never passed her lips. "Kwaku, my son, where did you get the money for all this?" She saw the gifts, but not the growing darkness behind them. The villagers started to notice. Things would go missing, small at first, then larger items. A whisper started, a rumor that followed Kwaku like his own shadow, but no one could ever prove it. He was too clever, too quick. One sunny afternoon, however, Kwaku's luck ran out. He spotted a beautifully carved wooden bird in the workshop of old Papa Ifaga, the village carver. It was a masterpiece, and Kwaku knew he had to have it. He waited until Papa Ifaga turned his back, and in a flash, the bird was gone, hidden under his shirt. But Papa Ifaga, though old, had eyes that missed nothing. He felt a change in the air, a slight disturbance. He turned and saw the empty spot where his prized creation had been. His gaze fell on Kwaku, who was trying to walk away with a little too much casualness. "Kwaku," Papa Ifaga's voice boomed. "Stop, right there." He caught up to the boy and found the stolen bird. This time, there would be no whispers. Papa Ifaga marched Kwaku straight to the village elders. Before the council of wise elders, Kwaku stood with his head held high. "I didn't take it," he declared, his voice firm. "He's an old man, his memory is failing him. I was just admiring his work." The elders looked from the furious carver to the seemingly innocent boy. Without concrete proof beyond Papa Ifaga's word, their hands were tied. They gave Kwaku a stern warning about honesty and sent him on his way. His mother, who had rushed to the scene, hugged him tightly. "My poor boy," she cooed, to be accused so wrongly. She chose to believe his lie over the word of a respected elder. That night, Kwaku felt a strange tingling on his tongue. He ignored it and went to sleep. The next morning, however, something was terribly wrong. His tongue felt thick and clumsy in his mouth. He looked in the small, polished mirror in his room and gasped. His tongue was longer than it should be, lolling slightly out of his mouth. He tried to tuck it back in, but it wouldn't fit properly. Panicked, he tried to speak, but only a muffled slur came out. Throughout the day, it got worse. The tongue, a fleshy pink serpent, grew longer and longer, creeping past his chin, then down his neck. The villagers stared, pointing and whispering. This was no ordinary ailment. His mother was frantic. She tried herbs and local remedies, but nothing worked. The tongue continued its horrifying growth, now reaching his chest. It was a grotesque sight, a constant, physical reminder of a lie. Humiliated and terrified, Kwaku's mother knew there was only one person left who could help. She half-dragged, half-carried her son, his monstrous tongue trailing on the ground, to the hut of the village's spiritual helper, a woman known for her deep connection to the ancient spirits. The spiritual helper, a wise woman with eyes that seemed to see right into your soul, took one look at Kwaku and nodded grimly. She gathered the elders and the entire community in the village square. In front of everyone, she began her ritual. She lit incense that filled the air with a mysterious, sweet smoke and began to chant in a language as old as the hills. Her gaze was fixed on Kwaku. "The spirits demand the truth," she declared, her voice echoing through the silent crowd. "Speak, boy, or this tongue will grow until it chokes the very life from you." Under the weight of her stare and the horrified eyes of the whole village, Kwaku finally broke. The confession came tumbling out in choked, garbled sounds, a torrent of every lie, every theft, from the first mango to Papa Efaga's carved bird. He wept, not just from fear, but from the crushing weight of his own dishonesty. When the confession was over, the spiritual helper turned her piercing gaze on Kweku's mother. "This is your doing as much as his," she said, her voice stern but not without a hint of pity. "A parent's job is not just to feed and clothe a child, but to guide their spirit. You saw the fancy gifts, but you chose not to see the truth. You enjoyed the fruits of his misdeeds, so you share the blame for the rot in his soul. Your silence was his permission." The mother collapsed to her knees, sobbing with shame and regret. The spiritual helper then pronounced the price for cleansing. "To appease the spirits and teach you both the value of honest work, you will pay a fine." The amount she named was staggering. It was nearly everything Kweku's mother had. With trembling hands, she brought forth her savings, the money she had treasured. The spiritual helper placed the pile of money on a mat in front of Kwaku and his mother. Then, she began a new incantation, a low, powerful hum that vibrated through the ground. As everyone watched, a gasp rippled through the crowd. The pile of money began to shimmer. Then, coin by coin, bill by bill, it started to vanish into thin air. It was a powerful, shocking display of magic, a visual representation of their life savings disappearing because of their poor choices. As the last coin faded from sight, another miracle began. The long, grotesque tongue on Kweku's chest quivered. Slowly, inch by inch, it began to retreat. It slid back up his chest, over his chin. And finally, with a soft pop, it coiled back into his mouth, returning to its normal size. Kwaku could breathe freely for the first time in days. He touched his mouth in disbelief, his face streaked with tears of relief. The spiritual helper looked at the boy and his mother, who were clinging to each other. "You are lucky," she said, her voice now softer. "You came before it was too late, and the spirits accepted your payment. Had you delayed, the tongue would not have stopped, and the boy would have been lost. Let this be a lesson that will never be forgotten. An unexamined gift can be a curse, and a lie, no matter how small, has a way of growing." Thank you so much for joining me on this journey today. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe or follow Storycoast for more tales from around the world, and ring that notification bell. We'll see you in the next video.